How's everybody doing?
Good, good.
Hi.
Can everybody hear you? All,
Good
hear me
morning,
okay?
everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good
Ciao.
evening.
Ciao.
Ciao. Come stai? How's everybody doing?
Molto
Thank
bene,
you.
grazie. Very well.
Molto bene, molto bene.
Love it. Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, this evening. We've had, I imagine you've all kind of been watching a few of the sessions here. We've had a lot of pretty heavy sessions, digging, really kind of getting into the weeds, getting into the minutia of the industry, the market, the service. I'm so excited to take a trip, to just go travel for the next 45 minutes or so. That is what I think I and our viewers and listeners are absolutely up for. And so I'm super excited to be able to welcome our next guests here today. We've got, at least in the corner of my screen, we have Ms. Etsuko Nakamura, the founder of Sake Tours. Etsuko-san, you want to say hello?
Hi.
Hi, Etsuko-san. You're on my island here with me.
Yes, I'm in Japan. Yes,
Right.
hello from Tokyo.
Hello from Tokyo. Excellent. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us, Etsuko-san.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And Marco Massarotto.
Good
Marco
morning
is.
and good evening.
Good morning, good evening. Marco is the founder of Nippon Concierge, offering customized and bespoke tours to people looking to discover deep Japanese culture. He's also cultural ambassador for the city of Kyoto as well. And so he, as well as a sake samurai, along with Etsuko-san. We got a couple of samurais here in the bunch, yeah? And so Marco, how are you doing here this morning?
Oh, we're fine. It's morning. It's a sunny morning here in Cortina. We are locked out of Japan. We were going to camp for the Olympics as we are advisors of the Italian government. And we really hope things will be going, as you were saying before, and pick up more than before. So we're spending this suspended year in the mountains in Italy. And we are also introducing sake during the Ski World Cup coming up soon here. You'll hear about that.
Excellent. For the Ski World Cup over there. That's excellent. That's excellent. That is a nice.
It's supposed to be happening in February.
Oh, very nice, very nice. That's exciting. Excellent. And last but certainly not least, we have Carlo Sabbatucci, who is a designer with hands-on design, who works with craftsmen and artisans based in Japan and matches them with designers, both in Italy and other places, to help spread sort of the culture and quality craftsmanship and artisanship. Carlo, how are you doing?
Hi from Milan.
From Milan?
Yeah, from Milan. It's a sunny day outside. We are closed due to the lockdown, but it's a sunny day, so it starts well. So nice to meet you, everybody. And
yeah, excellent. Yeah, I want to thank you so much, all three of you, for joining us here today. We're going to look at travel. The theme is right, travel in Japan. Sadly, we can't do that in the way that we would hope to at the moment. But as we're sort of mentioning before we got started here, is travel and tourism in Japan has exploded, in the last 10 years. And not only has the number and just the volume of people coming increased, almost exponentially. The types of experiences that people are looking for and what they're looking for. There's been this sort of, they often call it sort of the golden route. People come for whether they've got 5 days or 10 days or 2 weeks. They'll come and they'll spend a few days in Tokyo. They'll spend a few days in Kyoto. They'll pop into Hiroshima. If they've got a couple extra days, they might hop over to Hakone, or they might, there's this sort of there's a small handful of sort of limited destinations, which are all beautiful and fantastic in their own right. But we're starting to see this real demand, as you're seeing in tourism in a lot of different places, for the kinds of experiences that are more unique and that are special for those individuals and for small groups. And Japan is kind of just starting to get on board with what that looks like, and is really starting to develop those. Etsuko-san, you founded Sake Tours when? It was quite some time before anybody's even talking about sake experiences and things like that. You were out trudging through the countryside.
Yes.
When did that start, and kind of how did that get started?
So that was 2009. I started the Sake Tours. I didn't know anything. I didn't come from a, travel industry background, but I just fell in love with sake around 2003. And I visited, first it started with a bottle of Kaiun from Shizuoka Prefecture. And then I started to take lectures, sake lectures, and meet the brewers. And then I visited the sake breweries in Shimane and Tottori in 2006. And really by meeting those artisans, sake artisans, passionate people, and eating local food, tasting the sake with the local food, really like changed my, view of everything. And at that time, really like sake world wasn't open to visitors, or even for Japanese. We had to know somebody in the brewery. Well, for good reason, because back then sake breweries are not set up for receiving visitors. So, I was thinking then, if sake fans from another country want to go to sake brewery, what do they have to do if I'm having problem visiting the brewery? So that's when I said, okay, I have to run. I'm going to run a sake tour. And, at that time, I didn't have any experience in the travel industry, but I started by getting certified as a guide. And then eventually, I ran first ever sake tour in 2010, the February 2010, with 2 guests, only 2 guests. And then it evolved over the time. Now we're based in Tokyo and fully licensed travel agency. But that's how my sake journey started, and that's where we are now.
Yeah, excellent. I said, yeah, when you were doing, I said there wasn't really a model for you to work from, 10 years ago when you were doing that. There's a lot more folks kind of starting to get into the game a little bit, and try and create those unique experiences like you were talking about, getting out to the breweries that you said aren't necessarily equipped or they never envisioned that sort of experience. But like I said, you were doing that when there was no model to go from, and you had to, show them what that was early on. I think we have a video here actually. Maybe we'll show your video real quick. We have a short sake tours video, I believe, that I think should probably kind of give our viewers a little bit of an idea as to sort of what it is you're talking about, and sort of the proposition of what it means to have a sake tour, and sort of what that entails, and sort of what that encompasses. We'll see. All right, we can go to the video here. Excellent. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Very nice. So, Etsuko-san, there's a whole lot more than sake in there.
Yes, it's, when you look at sake, it's not just sake, it's the area, the food, and the, you know, also like a culture, craftsman. So really, you know, by focusing on sake, really you get the, you know, whole picture of the region, or you experience the region.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a really important point I want to touch on. We'll get back to that. I'm going to kind of go around the horn here, and kind of get everybody's perspective a little bit. Marco, you've been running Nippon Concierge since what? You've been for close to 10 years now, maybe.
It's actually this year is our 10th year. We started in a similar way, like Etsuko-san, but being me, a gaijin or a non-Japanese, of course the story has different nuances and colors. I was in Japan in 2010, so 10 years ago, and I've been coming from a different background as well. I have been for 25 years a digital communication entrepreneur in Europe until I recently sold my company. And I was traveling with a client at the time, a large automotive client in Japan, organizing their PR. And thanks to our common friend Melinda, I actually met sake at tasting, and I realized how little outside of Japan sake was known. Even for people that love Japan, that have a knowledge of Japan, even for people who travel, for people who eat sushi that's so popular, we knew nothing about it. And it was a great story, as Etsuko pointed out, of passion, of artisans, of crafts, of tradition, of culture. So I thought this story needed to be told to the Italian people, to the European people outside of Japan. And that was my skills in communication. So I started an NPO called the La Via del Sake, the Way of Sake. And I operated for many years on organizing a festival in Milan, the Milano Sake Festival, for 5 editions. And we started right away with travel because people was asking us. And we were like, of course, we are called the Way of Sake. So of course we do travel. And we enrolled the people in our Kyokai, in our association. And we had many, many editions of some more specific sake-oriented tours, and other we call Japan Gourmet. So where we bring people to experience Japanese culture through food, which is a pretty common part of the business. And gastronomic tourism is pretty strong in many parts of the world. In Italy, for example, it's a really important part of tourism, but not only in France. It's very big, and it is, and it would be more and more in Japan. And especially in Japan, because it's such a deep culture, like the countries I mentioned before, a deep food culture. And food is so connected to so many aspects of philosophy, values, religion of Japanese or Japan, that it's a real door to discover the country. So when we bring the people to visit a sake brewery or a soy sauce brewery, or to taste sushi, to have a sushi man prepare sushi for you or whatever, the experience is not only Epicurean or gastronomic experience, which it is, and it's great, but it's also a culture key to understand Japan better and to experience more your trip.
Yeah, absolutely. That's neat. I mean, and you had sort of that channel, you had that position over in Italy, right? With La Via del Sake, you had a space, you had a means of sort of developing a community of sort of generating interest over there. So when we talk about tourism, part of it.
Our first festival, it was just a bunch of us in a garden. It was very small in 2014, before the Milan Expo. Then the Milan Expo helped us a lot, gave great amplification to global themes and global foods. And the last edition, we had 18,000 visitors at the Japan Festival. And we built a community. Now sake is great. There's many people doing even better than us. We are like working on culture. So now there's important distributors. We are a licensed EU tour operator, operating as a travel agent, but as a destination management company. So collaborating with tour operators and companies to provide experiential travel with a strong focus on food, because it's our main road or way, but I think there's a great future, as it was right before the pandemic, for travel and for food related and sake related travel in Japan. We just have to be patient a little bit more.
Yeah, Very nice. Very nice. Marco, did you have something you wanted to share as well too? Did you have a presentation or something you wanted to throw up there?
Well, yeah, I have some experiences, but maybe we can do that in the
We
second
can save that for a
round.
little bit. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay,
when
well,
we'll go more in detail, we'll show some
yeah,
pictures of
absolutely.
things
All
you
right,
can do to inspire
excellent.
our listeners.
Yeah, excellent. All right, let me jump over to Carlo then. You are not a sake guy. Maybe you're a huge sake guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm like the foreign of this of this conversation because I mean I'm not really sake related in terms of business in a way, but I mean we are. I work. I share my screen for
Yeah,
my
please do. Please do. I think it'll
presentation,
really
so
help people get an idea as to
yeah,
what
I
it is.
will show you some pictures, and so I work for with hands-on design, which is an Italian-based company, but with a double soul because it was founded by Kaori Shina, a Japanese designer, and Riccardo Nardi, an Italian one. And so it has this double identity, Italian and Japanese. And what we do basically is producing and selling decorative objects, tableware, home accessories, designed by international designers and manufactured handmade in Italy or Japan by high-level artisans. So hands-on design, we started in 2015, and we started for a specific reason to try to help to solve a specific problem, which is a common problem of Italy and Japan, because the two nations have a really great tradition, richness of tradition in craftsmanship, a really long story in craftsmanship, but both of them are facing the same problem, that so many activities, traditional activities, are closing. Mainly because most of the time they can't keep up with the times in terms of production, which is stuck in tradition, or communication. And so, and on the other hand, there's a growing interest in the market towards this kind of slowness in terms of everything, actually, and also in terms of production. So this interest in this product that are made with a slow production and so on, but there's not an offer of this kind of innovative product made in this way, so of product suitable for a modern needs. So in few words, this is hands-on design. This is why we decided to open this company. Actually, the two founders, Kaori and Riccardo. But actually today I'm here to show you what's behind hands-on design. Which is this. I try to I put this picture because it's where we start. For us, the workshop, the craftsman is at the core of our process. Our process starts with the research on the artisans on all Japan and Italy. And so we deeply research those persons, those masteries, and then we go there physically to meet them, to see how they work, but most of all to establish a relationship, a personal relation with them. This is which is the most important things in our work. Sorry, this map of Japan, you can see these red dots are the places, the artisans we worked with during the year, and with some of them we are still working, the majority of them. But I mean, Japan, it's a place where everywhere you go you find an artisan, even in Tokyo Center, and so we visited so many artisans from north to south. So even if our job is not strictly related to the travel tourism, but we do it every time, because to find the artisan, there's a great job behind. So it's what we do every time and what we are, I mean, we probably will do it in the future because we are becoming expert in this, in this field. And so, I mean, today I will try to bring you with me in some of these workshops and try to give you a glimpse of this experience.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I was able to kind of thumb through some of your photos before we started. And I'm gonna later on, I'm gonna ask you to share some more of those because there's some really beautiful ones that I think really tie into what it is we're talking about today. And it's funny, a couple kind of key words that you touched upon is that today it's about Japan, but we also have a couple of representatives from Italy. And I don't think that's a coincidence. And Carlo, I think you really touched upon something. You're talking about sort of that dedication to craftsmanship, and that there's really this shared challenge between both Japan and Italy, and that you have this deep culture of artisanal culture and this passion for it, this dedication to it, but there's this trouble to, as you said, keep up with the times, you know, or evolve or whatever you would call it. But a reoccurring theme kind of today throughout the summit and from a lot of different angles is sort of this concept of timelessness, and that there's something that, you know, whether it was 50 years ago or today or 50 years from now, it's something that is going to be equally relevant, you know, across generations. And that, you know, but you mentioned there's this challenge to communicate what that is. And, you know, and so for example, like Etsuko-san, in your tours, I just sort of looking at the video in your picture, there's this element of timelessness, I think, in there. You know, it's not just a beverage, it's not just liquid, it's not, you know, what is that element when you know, we're talking about sort of the challenges of communicating what that is, especially kind of when you first got started. What were the challenges? What do you think are kind of the challenges that these artisans or these craftsmen faced in sake, as well as some of these other areas, when it comes to, it seems like everybody who wants to come to Japan, they're all looking for that, you know, that timelessness. So there's clearly a demand out there. Where is that gap, and how do you kind of think about filling that? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so, you know, to me, what makes travel special, like especially like, you know, traveling around Japan special, is people. I mean, of course, you know, you can visit beautiful places, beautiful, you know, temples, experience Japan. But to me, what makes experience so special is people. So by meeting these sake brewers or food producers or craftsmen, that's really your experience. And that's hard to find. So, you know, at sake tours, we try to curate that moment, like for the visitors, for the guests, to meet the brewers, meet the artisans, to really experience Japan through them, hearing their stories, and also sharing that passion. And I think that's what's really, you know, hard if you're on your own traveling around Japan. I mean, travel around Japan used to be a bit harder, but nowadays, you know, good access and English signs, maybe you can use more information, but, you know, I mean, getting access to people and then for people to share that time with you, you know, that's I think is still very hard.
Yeah, but I wonder, are you seeing that you're seeing an increasing demand for there? You said you started, you know, 10 years ago there was 2 people. What kind of frequency? What is sort of how is that evolution kind of changed over time?
So of course we are still, you know, very small tour operator. We run how many tours? Four, you know, tours a year, as because we offer 5-day experience. So what you saw in the video was 5 days compressed into 1 minute, and so, you know, but these days, yes, we do have more and more requests, And what's interesting is those guests who traveled with us always want to go to the next new area. So really, we have guests who've been on the tour, like almost all tours, or every year. And, you know, so so slowly, you know, we're building that community of people. And I hope, you know, we can answer to more demand in the future by perhaps offering shorter tours and more regions. But that's where we're at.
Yeah, excellent, excellent, excellent. And then, Mariko, I'm curious. With your, I mean, you have people coming to you. You know, they're looking for, I guess, for lack of a better word, you know, a real Japan. You know, and sake is clearly a big part of that experience. That's something that, you know, you've really developed over back in Italy.
We started from we started from that, actually.
Yeah.
And as Etsuko says, the demand is pretty varied and wide. So we all probably are gonna you know, make different offers, different experiences, and I can share some of the things.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, I'd like to know kind of more about when you...
not for the sake of. I just show you some pictures because I think it's interesting to inspire the people that's listening to us.
Absolutely,
and give them some
absolutely.
ideas,
Give an idea
things they can do.
Vision what we're talking
about. I hope you can see the slides while I'm talking.
Yep, looks beautiful.
And so tourism in Japan was until March pretty big. Japan climbed up in 5 years' time to 30 million travelers per year, which is a big number, but it's still half of France and Italy, and Spain, for example. But it was bound to reach 60 million travelers per year in the upcoming 5 years with the Olympic, the Osaka Expo, the Kansai Expo, and so on. Now everything got zeroed. The travel business has got completely wiped out in 2020 for everybody everywhere. There's no airplanes traveling, no nothing. The borders are closed in Japan. So, but still, things will take over at some point. The interesting thing, in my opinion, is that if you look at the statistics in Japan, in the last 5 years, it went from 3 million travelers per year to 30. The old 40 years before, when Japan was doing business with the rest of the world, it used to have 2 or 3 million travelers per year. Nothing, really, very small. External tourism, very small. It means it's still a pristine destination, a place very little people has gone. There's great attractivity. For some reason, people wanted to go but didn't go. And so there's an amazing, it will be, it just came out on Nikkei also the other week, it will be one of the hottest destinations. And the key for me is culture. As people, as Etsuko was saying, it's two angles of the same thing. It's culture, it's the experience, it's understanding. The travel industry has been disrupted by digital. Nobody goes on a travel agency for a plane or a hotel. There's no point. So they're disappearing too, because the service is no more needed. But a different service will be needed. We call it concierge, some call it ambassadors. You can call it whatever you want, but it's opening mind doors, cultural doors to people, creating experiences, not booking a hotel or a car. I mean, you got Uber, you got Booking, but what do you need it to operate for wasting money? So more and more, there will be specialists who will enhance your travel. It will not be for everyone, because it will be for the upper parts of the travelers. And you will do the most curious thing. I'm hunting for molds here. You know, this is a soy brewery, and we are examining the wood molds created by time. Or we have a tea salon where we welcome or say goodbye to our guests with a real serendipity. I call it tea serendipity instead of ceremony, because it will really set you to a different time tune. When people go to ceremony, they just exit the Tokyo frenzy and running attitude, and they get into a really different mood and time. we talk a lot about sake, but an amazing food artisanship is soy sauce breweries. There's an island called Shodoshima where you can visit amazing soy breweries, and soy is so important. It's one of the flavors, the constitutional flavors of Japan, together with miso, for example, which are great places to visit, great foods to learn about. Miso is a very healthy food, is behind one of the reasons of the longevity of Japanese people, and it's great, it's good, and it's not just the soluble miso soup. It's a great food with lots of application. You can see sushi here with miso and soy sauce marinated, and many other things. There's a great, awesome street food culture in Japan. Really so much fun and so great. We visit the fish market. Now Tsukiji is closed. It was a really sad news for all of us, but it's a great market in Kanazawa, all over the place. And you have a great time and amazing food, fresh crabs and shrimps that you can eat raw. The raw food culture is unbelievable in Japan. And you got small stories. I love this one. Inside Osaka, there's a small place where you can have the Miyoto Zenzai. So it's a food for lovers, where you both share bean soup with a mochi inside, inherited from a famous Japanese movie. It's a small thing, and most of the people maybe sometimes find it boring, but some people really find an intimate moment. And there's so many angles. I love this nakaochi, where they serve you the bones of tuna, which is like the bones of the Fiorentina steak, the juices and best part of the meat. And there's just two places. Even Japanese people won't see this. So like, you can really have that? Where is that happening? There's really few places in Tokyo you can go inside. They're all Japanese places. You're like aliens getting into that place. And it's great food, great experience. The meat, for example, we do a whole show about the meat. Visiting the wagyu meat, the cooking techniques, the yakiniku where you cook at the table, the samples of wagyu meat, or in Tohoku in Iwate Prefecture, you can do the wanko soba. I call it the soba Olympics, which is you have small cups with a bite of soba, and you have to eat as much as you can, at least 100. If you go below 100, they'll laugh at you, you know. But I'm exaggerating a little bit. But you have to eat more than 100. I did 116, and it was good. But they thought I could do 150 bites of soba, which is a lot. But soba is very light, so you can survive that. And you can have great sake in the city. I know you are. We discussed this. You know, sake is very rural, outside mountain experience, but you have great sake experience in the city, in Tokyo. You remember Lost in Translation, you see the screenshot there. They were drinking sake at the Park Hyatt Hotel in Tokyo. You have great sky bars, great small Zen style sake bars, and you have sake shops, which is a great challenge, but not to be missed, because you should bring home sake from your tour in Japan. And it's not so easy to buy, because the label is pretty ununderstandable for a non-Japanese speaker, and even for a Japanese speaker, sometimes it's tough to know what type of sake is in there. So this is something we're developing, like personal shopping for food, and sake is in temples. You can drink amazake at New Year's celebrations in the shrines and temples in Japan. There's lots of stories there. There's lots of rituals at wedding, at NDS parties, sake baths. They drink at sumo. So you have amazing things. So, of course, sushi, there's a lot to learn about sushi. It's not just rice and raw fish. There's a lot of craftsmanship. There's a lot of flavors. There's a lot of learning to do sitting in front of a sushi man. And there's pop food, like ramen, which is great fun and very healthy and warming in winter. So there's a food is really as.
Oh, Marco, are you there?
Stop.
Great hospitality, great welcoming, and that's very rich. But at the same time, there's a lot more the average traveler for the first time doesn't even imagine. It's behind the perfect shade doors of the Japan cities. So food is a way to enter in that space, in my opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you look at, you know, every year, you know, they always take polls of travelers and they say, you know, why are you traveling to Japan? Why did you choose this as your destination? And give you a rundown of all the different, I want to go to onsen, I want nightlife, I want shopping, I want all these different things. And hands down, food comes out on top every single time. Like sake usually comes somewhere in the middle. But it's kind of where you can't even really separate those two things in a way. Of course, you've got people who don't, you know, choose to partake in alcohol. Yeah, absolutely fine. But you know, those things are tied together. So looking at it from a gourmet, from a gastronomic perspective, and be able to tie those things together. I said, I think a lot of the photos that you just shared, what's I think maybe a lot of people realize, but don't think about too much or not too consciously. One, you've got incredible transportation resources here. With regards to trains and, you know, just speed and efficiency. The type of experience that you just showed and you just shared, you know, it's super compact. You know, you can ideally, you know, if everybody had, you know, a month to spend in Japan, they would go ahead and be able to take their time and do all those things. But, you know, the transitions of those very different worlds, those very different places, you can pretty much decide which era you want to live in today and, you know, and be there, you know, 2.5 hours later from just about anywhere you're at and be able to.
And you can have that experiences and still have most of the day free to do a classic tourist experience. So we do 10 days experiences. Every day we do at least one great experience, but 90% of the day people is free to do whatever they want. And still they have that enriching experience at some point in the morning, in the evening, we do Zen meditation in the morning, and so on. For the reason you're saying, extremely accessible transportation and services and logistics, which allows you to exploit, is not a nice word, but exploit your time in the best way when you're in Japan, even for remote locations, as Etsuko was saying.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And and those remote locations are going to be really, really crucial now too. Kind of a reoccurring things we kind of touched on in some previous sessions is, you know, looking at not just sake, but food, local agriculture, local production, local resources. You know, a lot of the stuff that people are coming for is being sustained by a lot of these more rural areas or countryside areas. That's where a lot of these crafts still exist, where they still really thrive. And they're completely isolated from the people who are actually going out there looking for them, who are really, you know, looking to pursue, you know, they know they're out there, but they don't know where they're at. Carlo, you know, you showed your map earlier and all the places you're visiting. You know, like you said, you know, in Tokyo, even in Tokyo and in the surrounding areas, there's some fantastic artisans. There's some great places you can visit. But if you wouldn't mind just kind of taking us on kind of a little journey through there, kind of showing us some of the artisans that you work with and sort of the nature of some of their work and their livelihood, if you've got something you can share in there.
It's totally like this. This is as I show you before the map, and the whole story of the craftsman. It's based on this rural area, and most of the time is their choice. So the first place where I bring you to with me is to meet Nakagawa-san. This beautiful man is not so scary as it is in this picture. He is a really lovely man, and he is located in Otsu, so in Shiga Prefecture. I also put this pin on the map to show you the where he is located, because his story is really strictly related to the city of Kyoto, because he born there, he grew up there both personally and also he trained in Kyoto. His father is one of the Japan Living National Treasure, which is a title that is given by those important and relevant figure of the craftsmanship in Japan. So you can imagine how big is this father for a son that want to also continue his path, but with different perspective, with different production. And so Nakagawa-san decided to go out from the city to establish his lab next to the Lake Biwa. Here you can see it's in the middle of nature, so mountain, lake. It's a really wild area, even if really near to Kyoto. As you told you before, it's just like 20 minutes from the city, 30 minutes from the city, and you are here in this environment. Wild sometimes. We were having a call with him some weeks, not some weeks ago, but sometimes ago, and he told that they were closed in their house because there was this alarm that was a bear walking around their area, and so they were quite scared for their child. But I mean, this is his environment. So you see rice, you see cypress, because he works wood with the oke technique that I will explain you in a bit later. And as you see, they develop also this beautiful landscape because they used to control the growing of this cypress, hinoki cypress, which is the main wood used in Japan for tableware, craftsmanship, and so on. And as you can see, they let them grow this tree really straight with this trunk really straight and without branches, or in order to make the wood clean and stable for the woodworking. And this is his lab. So as you can see, there's wood everywhere. Tools like planes, hammers, and so on, some semi-finished work. And he is Nakagawa-san, surrounded by some of his assistants. And but I'm back on tools, because one of the things of this experience is it's also to see the evolution of these tools. It's something, if you think about it, it's like a museum. Nakagawa-san is the third generation of craftsmen. So he owns also tools, materials, which dates back in centuries. And so you can see the evolution of a tool during the years. So it's something pretty interesting to me. I hope not just to me, which I'm a designer, so I'm quite obsessed with these things.
Beautiful.
But
we're with you.
But there are a lot of it's really interesting, and then it's a kind of also of a sensory experience, because I show you this picture because it's a production scraps of hinoki cypress, which is a really scented wood. It's a really amazing, and especially when you work it. So when you produce all those wastes, those scraps, this olfactory experience, it's even more higher. It's even more present. And then these are some pictures of Nakagawa at work. The oke technique basically is a technique that consists of making these little slices of wood curved in a precise way and fixing them with these metal rings with pressure. So it is fundamental that these slices are totally curved in a precise way for the final result, to enjoy the final result actually, which you can imagine just from this detail how which level is this work. If you imagine that a product like this is made with this technique, it's something crazy in my opinion. When I saw these things for the first time, I got really crazy because of the smoothness, because of the quality of this work. And in particular, these are two sake pictures designed by Kaori Shin and Riccardo Nardi, the founder of Hands-on Design, and then made by him. So this is one, is part of our I mean, collection of our project.
Oh, those are beautiful. That was incredible. That was absolutely. I love your photos. They're very sensory. You know, like,
yeah, because
like you're saying,
I mean,
the shavings and then what was created and the tools. Like even just looking at the pictures, like the second those pictures popped up, it was like a sensory experience. Even just
yeah, it's like this because I mean it involves you totally. It's the beauty, also of going inside these places, and so live the environment, their environment. So what they live when they create those products. And so, I mean, for us, it's important also to this kind of storytelling, because then you can understand what's behind the product. There's a person that lives in a specific environment and do this job with an amazing passion and obviously high quality and, I mean, amazing skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And but what you were showing us though, and this kind of goes back to something that Marco, what you mentioned a minute ago as well too. For example, some of those dining experiences that you showed, and not even just the, I guess you could say, extraordinary ones in terms of, you know, the whole, here's the whole fish on the table, or here's, you know, they're gonna dice everything up in front of you, but even things like your, you know, your tea ceremony experiences and things like that. There's a lot of that stuff that is actually lost on a lot of Japanese. But in particular, this, like the artisanal stuff and these artisanal crafts, it's something that's really separated from a lot of people, a lot of people's lives. And so in order to sort of regenerate interest in that and turn that into something that is valued and appreciated again. So for, like Etsuko-san, like with your tours, you know, bringing a handful of people, you know, what has been sort of the feedback? I imagine, you know, over the last 10 years, it's changed a lot what producers are willing to do and what they're willing to share. And what has sort of the feedback been from things like that?
So, you know, looking back like 10 years ago, I still remember when I told one brewer that I was going to start a tour. And then immediately brewer's answer was, oh, we're not set up for, you know, for tours. We're not accepting any visitors. So that was kind of mentality at the beginning. But now I think that environment has changed. You know, brewers and local producers, like artists, you know, they sort of like see a tour coming to the town is kind of their opportunity to show off, you know, not just to show off to the world, but also to show off to local people. Yeah. Hey, these people coming from all over the world to my brewery or to see my, you know, studio. So I think, you know, well, yes, I do get really positive feedback, and they always welcome the guests. And I think it goes both ways, you know, wonderful guests and wonderful host, just that creates this amazing time for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We're kind of running a little bit low on time here, but there is one thing I did kind of want to touch on a little bit. Is we're kind of winding down, but the reality is that, so the world has changed a whole lot in the last 6 months or so. And what you've all been proposing and sharing is something that everybody is, you know, got their fingers crossed that we can get back there as soon as possible. But over the last 6 months, 8 months, a year, the avenues through which people can explore and kind of come in contact with Japan in different ways have really changed, right? We're doing this right here. You know, this is part of that. You know, for example, Marco, you digital communication, that was your thing, you know, for a big deal. That's a big part of your you know, the backbone of what you've been doing for a long time. You know, taking these types of experiences that you were using to really connect people on a deep cultural level, and sort of looking at what you see, not just the sake industry or the travel industry, but sort of other outside industries. Where are you seeing sort of maybe potential and how things are already currently or maybe fusing with digital resources and sort of how we can sort of bridge this gap as we get back to
yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for bringing that up. We didn't plan to speak about this, but it's quite important. We said travel has been profoundly disrupted by digital, and we use a lot. I've been doing that for the last 25 years. We use a lot digital communications to engage, to interest our clients, but even to handle our groups. We have a chat system we use to keep the group connected, and it's incredibly effective. We have said all of us many times, the incredible logistics of Japan, the transportation, accessibility, and so on. But we must also say that Japan is a very safe country. You can go on your own. You can just land down in Narita and have a great time. But in order to do what you do in a tour with Etsuko, or one of ours for 10 days, probably you won't be able to do anything else because of cultural language barriers. Yes, they do speak English. Yes, there are signs, not everywhere. It's a very sophisticated society, Japan, rich of opportunities. The old stupid luggage shipping thing will make you save tons of time, and it's not really, I mean, you can do it, but you have to find out that it's there, learn how to do it, handle that. You waste half of your day. So we use digital communication to enhance our travel experience. We have a digital concierge support for the travelers with us, real time, 24/7. Even in the night, you need something. We instruct taxi drivers from kilometers distance. Speaking with a taxi driver is not necessarily so easy in Japan. They won't speak English. We give Japanese instructions on where the clients have to go via WhatsApp, and they get driven around. And digital is, and we have been chatting a little bit about this, is an essential key for sake, for craftsmen, in order to shorten the distance between Japan and the rest of the world. Today is the only thing we have. It won't be like this forever, of course, but it's so, it's like people who will not go back to the office after the smart working, say like, why do I have to go there every morning? I can work the same, you know? So once we discover that we can connect, we can communicate, we can taste sake together, being distant, of course it's better to taste it in a brewery or in a sake bar, and we'll get back to do that. But we cannot travel every day to Japan. It's 10,000 kilometers from Europe, and we can be connected. We can learn about sake, about artisans, and this thing. As much as Japan is a highly technological society, it's a little behind on the global fluency in digital communications. I don't want to even say it's a little behind, but I say there's a lot of opportunities for Japan to be exploited and to be leveraged for promoting itself, for being more global than it is. There's a lot of cultural drawback in this from Japanese being very cautious. So we need to be patient and work together with them, but we'll get there, and we'll get more and more breweries on social media, on digital, on e-commerce. And the e-commerce sake boomed in a month during the lockdown in Europe. The sake distributors sold in a month the same amount of sake they sold in a year in 2019. So it keep going on, and digital will be essential for enjoying travel, for promoting Japan, and for learning more things.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I said, there's obviously a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges that come out of this, but the one thing, given the nature of the situation, the tools that we're using today, it's actually nothing new. You know, it's stuff that's been available to us all the time, and all of a sudden, it's kind of lit a fire under a lot of the folks in Japan who are, I don't want to say reluctant, but you know, maybe didn't choose to engage in digital and sort of these resources. And all of a sudden, I think a lot of places are really starting to see how that can fuel not just their communication, but also, you know, their bottom line as well too. They're finding ways, whether it's through e-commerce or through different types of travel and things. And so, you know, we've got a little further to go, but you know, I think we can, you know, by kind of fusing those things together, hopefully we can make an even more enriched travel experience that is able to reach more and more people. So I have a feeling that once this all settles down, there's going to be a big rush, and probably these kinds of tours, you know, Etsuko-san and Carlo, you know, your ability to take people to the places, to the people that you were just showing and sharing with us is going to mean so much to people. That is going to be so special. That is going to be so special. And so just thinking about it is, you know, I mean, that's just going to be a really, I mean, it's going to mean a lot to the people who are able to engage in that. So I am super excited to see where you all take it in the months ahead as things develop. We are kind of we've kind of run out of time. Thank you, Etsuko-san, Marco, Carlo. Thank you so much for setting aside time today.
Thank you.
I know things are getting rough again.
Thank you.
On your side of the globe, and that there's a lot to contend with. So we got this. So we're going to keep these communication lines open. And as the opportunity to travel in whatever fashion that may be, I look forward to traveling with all three of you again very soon. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you,
Thank you.
again here. Be
Thank you.
safe and take care, and kampai.
Kampai.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.